Hey guys, Richard here. So I love my job and I love marketing. So I had a question recently around what is tech marketing, right? And then I kind of finished the video and then I asked my friend, what video should I work on next? And he was like, why don't you just do a day in the life of your job? And that kind of dawned on me. I'm like, wait a second, why could I have just done this earlier, right? So I'm gonna do kind of a day in life of my job. I'm gonna walk through what my typical day looks like, especially on a Monday because that's usually my busiest day. And I'm gonna show you exactly what I do in kind of a calendar format, and hopefully this will be interesting to you, what a marketing manager does within a tech company, or what a marketing manager does in general, right? So hopefully this video will be insightful, so let's get straight into it. Okay, so just for reference, I'm going to be walking through my day, how it would normally look like. If you actually want me to do a video where I'm literally just like staring at my keyboard or at my laptop and doing my 9 to 5 and then occasionally switching to my webcam and going, this is what I'm doing, then let me know in the comments. Maybe some people like this. But I checked out a lot of other videos online and a lot of people just simply talk about it. They just literally had the webcam for 10 minutes talking about it. So I thought I'd do something a bit more interactive. I chuck in some of my notes, talk about what I think about, show some of the tools I use, or hopefully, because some of it's confidential, I might just show you their homepage and then you might just take a look at it. But hopefully this will help. So let's go into my 9 to 5 day right now. I want to show you my 9 to 9:30. Okay, so I'm going to walk through my 9 to 9:30. It's generally pretty straightforward on a Monday because it's the start of the week. So generally it's a lot of preparation about what other meetings I have on that Monday as well as the rest of the week. But a lot of the times as a marketing manager, you have a bunch of stakeholders. You have sales teams, usually that's either account managers or inside sales teams. Inside sales teams are generally the ones that are on the phone doing the inbound or outbounding. They're kind of the front line, the first bunch of people who need to pick up the phone and try to get a lead and try to convert it into a meeting. And then the account managers are the ones that are big money makers. They're the ones bringing in business for business, right? They're bringing business into the company and then trying to close the deal, right? If you're in B2C, there might be a bit different, but generally in a tech company, a lot of it is going to be B2B. So a lot of it is trying to convince businesses to buy. Now, if you think about it, even companies like Google, it might look like B2C, but the underlying business is trying to sell to companies to buy and purchase Google ads. So a lot of the times a lot of businesses that look like B2C are actually B2B companies, right? So a lot of the times it's working with their salespeople to find leads and basically get leads to them and then convert them into business. Other stakeholders that are managing are your agencies and even other marketers and even product people, right? Because you are basically ones that are helping push the product and you need support from the agency because they're the ones that are helping you execute the product, so you don't have to do all the work yourself. So 50% of the time, you are actually doing a lot of project management because a lot of the times you just simply don't have the bandwidth. You can't do everything yourself. So a lot of companies understand this, so you have agencies to work with that can help you execute work. Do the logistics, do the stuff you don't want to do even, like go count inventory about like how much stocks you have, they could do it for you. So a lot of times, a lot of project management. So my 9 to 9:30 is just simply reviewing what I have for the day. So let's go into my next part of my day, which is normally one of my first sales meetings. Okay, so my 9:30 to 11 is to prepare for the meetings ahead. Sometimes I have to put a slide ready, sometimes I don't. However, I try to have a slide ready just in case, because sometimes if they get me to present, as you'll see in my next section, I have this ready, right? So normally it is generally a one slider. Once again, my first meeting is with sales, so I don't want to overload them with information. Now, obviously, as you can see here, I've taken now some of the stuff so you don't, so as a lot of it's confidential, but you get the point. So you have like workshops, webinars and stuff like that, and you have events and stuff. Normally, I try to put as little detail as possible because I want them to kind of look at it and then either ask me questions or I can just go through it and talk about it, right? They don't want to read a lot, so a lot of the times it's just me just putting a simple format just so they understand what I'm doing for the week. So a lot of times it's just me preparing these kind of simple slides for the sales team. So my 9 to 9:30 to 11 is a lot of it is just making sure I have some PowerPoint slides ready, some details and stuff ready, so I can go through what the week looks like or the month or whatever events are coming up, so I can give them an idea of what's happening. So yeah, let's go into this next section about what actually happens in a sales meeting. Okay, so my first sales meeting on a Monday is usually at 11 o'clock. I usually have a coffee in my hand just because, salespeople, nah, it's a joke. But I actually do have a coffee in my hand normally just to kind of get through that meeting. So generally what happens in a sales meeting is they normally talk about their deals, the opportunities that they have in market. kind of what's happening for the week, what they're trying to sell. Generally, actually, a lot of the times, I'm just kind of sitting on the call and just listening. I don't have to do much, honestly, until the end when they kind of engage me and ask how I can support them. And normally, I can give an update on what's happening for the week. So that's, talking about what potential programs are coming out from a lead generation or digital perspective. That could be social media, so paid social, like, for example, LinkedIn ads, all the way to more like, roundtables or webinars, to put it simply. So just because everything is virtual these days. So this could be, for example, I'm doing a virtual webinar with an external partner, and I'm gonna give them the details. And generally, the salespeople don't want to listen to the nitty-gritty details. They just want to tell you, they just want to know what the high level is, and they just want to know who they need to target within their own accounts, right? Because a lot of the times, salespeople just have a very short attention span. So as a market manager, your job is to make it really sufficient, really efficient as well, so they know exactly what you're targeting and what topics you're targeting. So for me, generally, it's just a one-sided, just to give them an understanding of what I'm doing, and then I give them the landing page and the email so they can promote it to their customers if they want to as well. But a lot of the times, it's just me doing the promotions. I'm doing the emailing, for example, out to our database, and then even working with the external partner who will help generate leads from their side as well. So a lot of the times, it's a collaborative effort in that case. But generally, all you need to know within kind of the sales part is I'm probably there just mainly to listen and then show what projects I'm working on so they have an understanding. Salespeople love to have a visibility. The last thing they want is you emailing a customer that they don't want you to email. So it's just about having a very hand-holdy relationship, making sure you're feeding them the right leads, and making sure you don't go like promoting to accounts or CEOs that they don't want you to touch, because that becomes very sensitive. So a lot of the times, it's just helping prepare a very simple slide just to show them what I'm doing for the week. And if they have any specific asks, for example, I had a recent ask about specific keywords that they want to target. We have a new product coming out, and they want basically our region to be ready on a Google perspective, because salespeople love Google for some reason. And so they want us to be ready, at least on a Google perspective. So if a customer types in the keyword, our ad will pop up, or we will pop up somewhere. So I had to work with an agency to set that up. So that gives you an example of specific ad hoc requests that I might get as well. And generally, I want to keep them happy, so I'll work with whatever team to get that ready out to the market. So that's generally my 11 o'clock to 11:30 with one of the first sales teams. Okay, so back to my notes page. It's now 11:30, and I have my second meeting, and that is with an account team. Now, an account team for me might be different definitions and stuff like that, but within sales, you have different types of salespeople. An account team actually focuses on even specific accounts, or maybe just one account. In this case, they actually focus on one account. This could be your Bank of America. This could be a really huge, really huge business that brings in a majority of business for the company, or a huge amount of it at least. And so you actually want to have a bunch of salespeople or engineers working on that specific account. You'll see this a lot in tech companies. They'll have specific customer success people, they have a lot of tech people, a lot of people just working on one account just because of how big it is. And for me as a marketer, I'm there to support their needs in order to basically get a one-to-one engagement. So in this meeting, once again, it's very similar to my 11 o'clock. There's a lot of listening, what deals and stuff like that. But I actually have a close relationship with the account team, because we're executing really targeted marketing activity towards that team. Now, this could be in the form of workshops. This could be in the form of webinars. This could be the form of emails. But a lot of the times, it's also in the form of using tools like Demandbase. Now, Demandbase is simply an ABM tool. I'll just show you now. I'll put it up. So as you can see here, Demandbase is an ABM tool. Basically, I can't go into it because, once again, it's a lot of stuff which there's confidential and I might get in trouble. But if you put it simply, it's just you put accounts in the tool. You can then monitor them. So what they're basically looking at, what type of keywords and stuff like that. Yes, that's going to that type of marketing. It's a bit intrusive. However, we don't look at it at a one-to-one level, which is I know what John Smith is doing at the company. I know what he's looking at. We don't do that much detail. We just look at it overall, what the company's looking at, what trends they might be looking at. For example, they might be looking at Microsoft Azure, they might be looking at cybersecurity trends, and so we understand what they're targeting. So then we can go from our side and target them about those topics. Now, Demandbase is a great tool to do this. They can also help you do ads towards an account. Once again, not to one-to-one, but more towards the account itself. So using tools like this, it helps me as an ABM marketer, especially within my marketing manager set, to learn how to ABM market. And when you go into tech marketing or any type of B2B marketing, this is a really important skill set. So if you are starting out in your career, look into ABM marketing. It is super important. It's a bit of a buzzy word, but it's become more important as tools become stronger and better at targeting. You as a marketer are expected to have these skill sets. So once again, it's a very similar approach with the other sales team. However, because it's a one-to-one level, there's a lot more involvement with the account in trying to target specific accounts. We actually have a workshop coming up, and so I need to basically get those emails out. And then on a weekly basis, I'd probably give them a registration update, how many registrations left, and the target that we want to aim for. Let's say we want 30 contacts on that account on that webinar or workshop. And then they need to help drive it as well, so I prepare all the emails ready for them and send it to them so they don't do anything. As a marketing person, you're there to feed them stuff. You don't want the salesperson to literally create an email. That's where your expertise should come in, and you need to create those stuff for them. And so a lot of the times, you make sure that you do all that stuff, because if you do all that stuff and you make a salesperson happy, they're gonna give you a lot of praise, and they're gonna be happy, right? You don't want them to do that nitty-gritty stuff. That's what a marketer is meant to do. Okay, so my 12 to maybe 12:45, generally I actually like to put some time away to get some lunch and to make sure I feel good for the rest of my day. A lot of people, especially within the tech industry, they like to eat their lunch on their desk and they try to power through the day as much as they can. But I try to put some time away just because I feel like, I need to get some rest. A lot of meetings, a lot of preparation at the beginning of the day. So I try to put some time away. That might be you, but that's just me. So once again, this is just me, lunch. Yay. Okay, so it's lunchtime right now, so before we get to the rest of the day, I kind of want to walk through some of the tools we use because I think a lot of people will be interested in this. So hopefully this is big enough. Let's just make this a bit bigger. So obviously we have a CRM, and generally you're going to hear things like Salesforce and HubSpot. Now these are tools which will help basically where the leads will sit, where the contacts will sit, where your pipeline will sit and opportunities will sit. So a lot of the times, this is where the lifeblood of the sales people will sit when they're working on their opportunities. Now, you might be asking, well, why does the marketer have to be involved with this? Well, there's one example I'll show you, which is really important, and that is marketing attributed pipeline. Now, pipeline is simply just, sales-generated opportunities. For example, if a customer might go, shows interest in the product, and the sales team might figure out that's a 50K pipeline deal, they'll put 50K opportunity into the system and then put a probability figure on top of that. Now, if you helped achieve that, so you built a workshop around that product and you executed it with the salesperson, salespeople are very lazy. I'll just be honest out there. Salespeople can be very lazy. They won't tag opportunities for marketers because they want to focus on themselves. So as a marketer, you're there to help tag those opportunities. So let's say that 50K deal now goes into the system, but you're not tagged there because they didn't have a contact role. They didn't have any who the customer was, who the user was. So you have to go to the salesperson and go, hey, who was in that workshop that agreed to this opportunity? And then might go, it was Bob, or it was whatever name. And then you'll put that contact into the system, and then you will tag the workshop campaign in that contact. So then you get attributed for that pipeline. So when you go back to your boss and they go, how much pipeline did you help sales? You can go, hey, this is a report. For example, 50K deal, we helped get this deal. So a lot of the times it's about understanding marketing attribute pipeline and tagging opportunities and making sure the opportunity hygiene is good. Because as a marketer, that's one of your KPIs. You are responsible for help bringing in pipeline for the organization. So this is why you have to be very comfortable with pulling reports from Salesforce and stuff like that. If you're lucky, if you're working in a big company, there are people probably who do this for you. But if you're a smaller company, especially for example, when I first started and I was doing all the execution, I had to do this for myself. So it's really important to understand how to do this and being able to work around the tool. The second one is your email tools, or whatever you want to call it. And generally there's a lot of tools out there. Marketer is probably the biggest one for tech companies, but you have other ones like HubSpot as well. You have Active Campaign, you have Autopilot. It's going to go over the page. Anyway, you know the point. So there's a lot of tools out there. So emails are the lifeblood of marketers. We send a ton of emails, especially if you're in B2B tech. If you hear anyone say email is dead, well, they probably wrong. I'm just going to say they're wrong because emails are still huge. Ironically, a lot of marketers who say emails are dead, I still get emails from them, so I don't know what they're saying, right? But a lot of the times it's about knowing how to execute emails. A lot of the times you don't actually have to do the HTML CSS on the email. You can pass it to someone in the organization. But it's good to learn if you are starting off as a marketer. Why not pick up that skill? It's It helps you out a lot because, especially if, for example, you need to get something out quickly in the market, but the marketing operations person is way too slow, you can do it yourself, right? As long as you have the privileges to send the email and stuff like that. But a lot of the times, it's a pretty good skill to have, knowing how to craft an email, what an email should look like, the formatting and stuff like that, and then being able to code it yourself. So a lot of times, if you want to learn stuff, this is a great great thing to learn. Sorry about that. All right. So the third thing that you'll see is project management tools. So we use Rike, but I've used Basecamp in the past and stuff like that. So you might have been alluded to this video, but as a marketing manager, you're doing a ton of project management and you need to work with your sales teams, your agencies and stuff. But not only that, you need to work with the marketing operations team. They're the ones helping you set up the campaigns. They're the ones helping you set up a landing page. You're working with a web team, for example, to put up a landing page of a webinar and stuff like that. So a lot of the times this is done through a project manager tool. You submit the ticket and then they'll execute it for you. So normally you want to give a couple of weeks before in order for them to actually do the work because it can take a bit of time. So a lot of times it's working on project management tools like Rike and Basecamp. There are a ton of other tools as well. For example, you might have analytic tools. So once again, these can be from your CRMs and email tools. You can pull data from Marketer Salesforce. But a lot of people will also use Adobe Experience Managers. If you're a smaller companies, you might use Google Analytics. Depending on what type of marketing manager you are, really depends if you need to pull this stuff. I personally don't. I can do it, but I don't because I have web teams who do it for me if I need to. So a lot of times you don't actually have to do it. And as I've been mentioning, ABM tools are coming into business as well. As a newer type of marketer, it's pretty important to understand what ABM is and learn how to use these tools because, especially in the B2B tech, you're expected to know how to execute ABM strategies. So a lot of times it's actually important to start to learn what ABM is as well and what tools you can use. And finally, this is something that I've been seeing pop up recently, and it's around events and virtual kind of platforms. So you got your own 24s, you have even like stuff like Eventbrite and setting up meetups, for example, so even meetup.com. And they actually require you to have some kind of skill to kind of like at least learn how to do it. I don't think it's a really important skill. It's something definitely popped up recently because of, the whole pandemic. But I mean, this is really simple to do, right? You can set up a meetup account, you can set up an Eventbrite account. So honestly, this is a very simple thing to learn. Google Analytics is very simple you can do as well. If you set up your own blog, you can put Google Analytics on top of it and see how that works. A lot of these you can do yourself. You can mess around. Some of the tools you might not. For example, demand-based, you might not have that opportunity. But a lot of these tools, especially as a marketer, you have actually access to yourself, and you can actually go around and mess with yourself and learn how to use it. Which is why I think a lot of marketers are actually in a huge advantage over other marketers, especially if they know how to execute these tools, because you can actually have access to them. And it's really simple to get on top. And if you can get on top, it's a huge addition to your resume. All right, let's get back into day of my life. Hopefully this tool kind of thing is interesting to you. If you don't like this stuff, let me know and I'll remove it next time. But I thought I'd just review some of the tools that a marketing manager might use. I might have missed some of it. Once again, this is just from my experience. Let me know in the comments as well if there's any other tools I might have missed. So yeah, let's get back into the day of my life. So my 12:30 to 1:30 is a one-to-one meeting with my manager. So depending on how big your team is, you might be working with a bigger team, but generally these sessions are just to see what work you need to do as a team, and so you don't double up on work. So the last thing you want to do is like do something and then someone else is doing it at the same time, right? So once again, for me, I'm only working with a manager. However, when I was working in a bigger team, a lot of it was also a meeting just to go over the stuff that we're doing every week. So for example, we're going around a table and just talk about what stuff we're doing. Once again, just to see, to give an indication to our manager or the group manager what we're doing, and so we don't tread on people's toes, and just do a quick discussion on, for example, oh yeah, I'll do this part for you, I'll get it to you by Tuesday and stuff like that. So it's really like kind of like pretty straightforward, not really anything specific like marketing related. It's all about, once again, project management and project stuff, and just making sure stuff moves along the pipeline. So yeah, once again, I do a one-to-one with my manager, and we just kind of review all that stuff. So yeah, let's go into my 1:30. So my 1:30 to my 2 o'clock meeting on a Monday is actually a whip with my agency. So whip is work in progress, and normally we cover off three things. Firstly, we cover off a few minutes talking about COVID. I mean, that's just the topic these days everyone talks about. But in all seriousness, we kind of talk about what work we need them to help with, any updates on projects, and any timelines and problems. So Generally, we're working with them on specific projects. So, for example, if we're executing a paid social campaign, for example, a LinkedIn one, a lot of times we don't actually, as a marketing manager, you don't do it yourself. You don't actually have to do it yourself. In some organizations, you might, but a lot of times you get an agency to do it for you. They'll charge a retainer, 10 to 20% depending on what, how big and small agency is and what fees they have, and you basically will plan with them. For example, I want this as a creative and stuff like that. You actually do that stuff. So you give them, for example, the creative. You give them the titles, the text and stuff like that. Like, oh, what should it say and stuff like that. They usually give you a template to fill it in, and then you hand it back to them, and then they do everything yourself. So a lot of the times it's a lot of backs and forwards, and you're just simply giving them inputs so they can generate the output. We can also talk about problems with them. So if there's any specific like timelines they're not meeting and stuff like that, generally they might have a specific goal that might reach. For example, if you give them a paid social campaign, they might go, we can finish it in a week, in 2 weeks or something like that. So a lot of times it's working, making sure they're hitting their timelines because we need to get the projects out the door. A lot of the times, especially with tech companies, you're planning by quarter basis, which is every 3 months. So you need to execute the activity in those 3 months, or you'll get into some budgeting problems because then that works in the next quarter, and then you're going to get a lot of financial issues and procurement knocking on your door and stuff like that. So a lot of times we want to get those projects out the door early. So a lot of times it's just making sure they are sitting on the timeline correctly and executing towards timeline. But yeah, we'll come up to them and we'll also tell them what work we might need to do. Once again, this is coming from a salesperson, which is why we like to have the agency calls a bit more after the sales teams, because they might have specific needs and then we can discuss with the agency to see how realistic it is. Generally, you do have the budgets planned in the beginning of the quarter and then you execute within the quarter, but sometimes you have some incremental budgets that might pop up, and so you get to work on some of these other projects. Sometimes we also might park, for example, 30k with the agency, and we might not know what to do yet, but we park that budget and then work I guess towards that 30k goal, so you can start spending it and working with the sales team to kind of understand what needs to be spent. But normally you do have a mixture of activities, so you don't want to do, for example, put all your budget into a webinar or all your budget into webinars. You want to mix it up. You want to make sure the funnels are topped up from top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel, so making sure the agency does that stuff. Some agencies or some companies will allow you to do creative stuff with the agency. In the case of me, I've got agencies which I have been able to do creative stuff, but in certain cases, in bigger tech companies, they don't let me, so I have to work with the internal team for creative stuff. So once again, agencies are there to help you with certain work. Some are allowed, some not allowed, depending on how every company operates. But that's normally how my my 1:30 to 2 looks like. Okay, so I actually went and looked into my calendar from last week, and I actually put these are the things I actually needed to do. So it gives you a bit more realistic approach of like what my day in the life of a marketing manager does. So I put a ticket in for a webinar request, including email copy. So I created the email copy. I actually don't need to do the execution of the stuff. In the past, I would actually have to do all the execution and stuff and give everything to the person, and then they press the send button and that's it they need to do. But these days I have a bit more luxury. I actually just create the copy myself, and then I just put in a ticket within Right to do the request. And then maybe in a couple of days they'll do it for me, and then I'll double check, and then I'll make sure everything looks good. And then we'll send the first email out for a webinar. I prepared slides for a workshop I'm doing on Wednesday. So I had to do it on Wednesday, sorry. So this was a workshop that is planned for a specific account. Once again, this is a engagement on a one-to-one account ABM basis. So preparing slides on what marketing can do and help them with. So I did that. Slides can take a lot of time, so that's a bit of a pain usually. I approved a bunch of emails sent out for the week. So once again, this is just making sure they'll never send an email out. So for example, put a ticket in for a webinar request, including email copy. They'll never send an email out without getting a authorization for you to do it. As a marketing manager, you have to go and say, this email looks good. So they send you a test email and make sure everything looks fine. No spelling mistakes, nothing formatting problems and stuff like that. And making sure the from email, reply to emails are all good as well. Set up a demand-based campaign to key accounts. So this is some of the execution stuff I might do. I actually have to go in demand-based and set everything up myself. I'll work with a demand-based person to do it, making sure they're setting up the right accounts, making sure they're targeting the right landing pages, they're using the right creative and stuff like that. I'll do a bit of tagging opportunities. So I'll go into the systems, and we use Tableau. So that's another tool you might be using. Some organizations won't, some organizations might. But we use Tableau to help us discover opportunities that might not be tagged properly. So normally this dashboard will give us a view of opportunities that don't have anyone tagged onto it. And so we'll look into it and see if we actually help contribute towards it. It's a bit of manual work there, unfortunately, but this is how it is. And I will set up a purchase request and put it into finance. So you're going to be doing a lot of POs and PRs within as a marketing manager because you're doing a lot of budgeting. Yes, this might be really crazy to some people, but you are doing that stuff. You have to budget. You have to use tools like Allocadia and stuff like that to actually budget properly. So it's a pain, but I mean, that's just how it is. You have to set up these requests. You have to put in the system because in the end, all this feeds up to finance, the CFO. And if he sees some incremental or like $1 off and stuff like that, he might question what's going on, right? So you need to make sure all your finances look all in order as well. So this is what the 6 things I needed to do from my 2 to 4:30. And let's go into my final meeting of the day. So as a marketing manager, you might have noticed that I do a lot for salespeople. However, inside sales is a bit different. They're the kind of the engine, they're the front line, right? So although I'm doing a lot of activity for the other salespeople, the account managers, the ABM account managers and stuff like that, majority of my campaigns are also targeting with inside sales because a lot of campaigns out there, you can't just simply target a couple of accounts. You need to have a widespread strategy as well to target other accounts, and those accounts are going to be touched by the inside salesperson first. When a lead comes in, they're going to be one on the phone first, and they're the ones that will book the meeting with the account manager. So generally, they're the ones that will give you the best advice on what will work well if you have a constant one-to-one dialogue with them. This is why I have a really close relationship with my inside sales team. So I'll chat with them and go, hey, what campaigns worked well this week? What have you been seeing that's been getting a lot of meetings? Any campaigns that just simply suck, right? I mean, I'm pretty honest with them. If they tell me a campaign sucks, I'll can it or I won't do it again. So for example, a lot of top of funnel leads. If they tell me a campaign I spent 10K on and all the leads suck, they can't get in contact with them, the emails are like completely like bad, and then like no one's responding and stuff like that, I'll probably won't do that campaign again. And that's the advice I want to hear, right? I want to have a close one-to-one dialogue with them. Even if the campaign doesn't work, it's okay because you're talking, you're speaking with them, you're getting that feedback, so you don't have to do it again, so you don't have to disappoint them again. So I'll constantly ask them about their leads and how it's going and stuff like that. And then I'll have like a specific work on any specific campaigns they want me to do. So actually I had a request recently to try out to help them with a bit of video prospecting. So which is basically when you do cold emails, a lot of times you're just sending like a text email and hopefully they want to respond. So the inside sales team recently asked me if they can do a video prospecting one. So they want me to help design a video thumbnail and a bit of like creative and stuff like that. So I helped them with that. So when they send a cold email now, they'll have a little thumbnail, and then when the person clicks on it, it goes to a personalized video, which they'll do themselves. And so I'm just helping them with these specific campaigns. So as you can see, it's a lot more different versus working with like an account manager or account-based team, because inside sales is the front line. They're going to be doing the dirty work as well. So a lot of the times it's just having a close relationship with them and just connecting with them and seeing what works and what doesn't work, and then helping them anything that they need. In the past organizations, I've also helped them create the cold emails themselves because, let's be honest, they're not the best at doing that stuff. So you need to help them with that stuff as well as a marketing manager, because you should understand that stuff because, once again, you're a marketing manager. And that's it. That's my 9 to 5, the day in the life of a marketing manager. As you can see, there's a ton of meetings, a lot of project management, some execution work, and a lot of talking to different stakeholders. It's a bit different to, I think, what you would first start off as a marketer. You might be siloed into specific things you need to like execute emails for the day or social media. But as you can see here, there's a lot of generalist stuff you need to do, overall stuff that you need to do as a marketing manager. So if you want to become a marketing manager, well, start learning everything apart, like learning how to talk to stakeholders, learning how to execute, learning how to project manage. It's all important because in the end, all those skills will build you as a really good marketing manager. Okay, if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to see similar content, just post in the comments what you want to see and I'll make a video on it. I promise you that. So yeah, I'll see you next time, and hopefully on the next video.